Major news out of North Carolina. North Carolina's Republican-controlled legislature has passed a package of restrictions on the power of the governor of North Carolina just in advance of Republican Governor Pat McCrory being replaced by North Carolina's incoming governor, Democrat Roy Cooper. Republicans in North Carolina very, very upset that their Republican governor lost to Cooper. And after weeks of delaying, Pat McCrory finally had to say, yes, I lost. Cooper won, and I am not going to be the Republican governor going forward. But now, outgoing Republican Governor Pat McCrory signed one of the two major bills that was approved by North Carolina Republicans. This is nothing short of a political insurrection attempt. These bills would strip future governors of their power to appoint a majority to the state board of elections. The number of board members was also expanded from 5 to 8, with the 8 members being now mandated to be evenly divided between the two major parties, Democrats and Republicans. Isn't it convenient, Pat, that Republicans think election boards should all of a sudden be 50-50 mandated just before they lose control in the state of North Carolina? I'm sure it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, this has everything to do with Republican obstructionism, and they're going to drag kicking and screaming if they don't get their way.
They absolutely are. These bills also would change the state court system in North Carolina, making it more difficult for the losers of some superior court cases to appeal directly to what is a Democratic-controlled state Supreme Court. These bills make the governor's cabinet appointees subject to approval by the state Senate. McCrory was allowed to appoint whoever he wanted with no Senate approval, but future Democratic governors, and all governors, unless this gets reversed, will need senatorial approval. And then there's a second bill in North Carolina, which strips the governor of his ability to name members of the boards of state universities. It also reduces the number of state employees that the governor can appoint from 1,500 to 425, nearly a bigger than 2/3 reduction. That bill, the second bill, wasn't immediately signed by Pat McCrory. McCrory is really the worst of the Republican Party, up there with Kansas Governor Sam Brownback, who destroyed the state of Kansas. McCrory is, first of all, a major liar, and I've mentioned this before. McCrory campaigned on the promise of not passing laws that would restrict abortion. He was elected, and he very quickly signs into law one of those insane abortion laws that requires abortion providers to have the same meet the same standards as surgical centers, which is, it might sound like it makes sense, but it really doesn't when you understand more about what abortions are, non-late term abortions, what they are, and what that would imply in terms of access to abortion. It also allowed providers, healthcare providers, to, quote, decline to perform abortions. It prevented public health insurance policies for paying for abortion. So the effect of this bill that McCrory signed was in practice a huge restriction on access to abortion. But when he was asked about it, people rightly said, hey, Governor, you campaigned on not passing laws that restrict abortion, and then you pass these laws that restrict abortion. He said, well, no, these laws won't actually restrict access to abortion, which is totally bogus. And I don't think I have to remind most people in our audience, Pat, that Pat McCrory was also behind and a huge supporter of HB2, that ridiculous transgender bathroom bill in North Carolina. This guy really is the worst of the worst.
Yeah, and I think that transgender bathroom bill is really going to tarnish his reputation in the future, because not only was it unjust, it's also going to cost the state billions of dollars in lost revenue.
Yeah, and to prevent his replacement, who won fair and square, from actually having the exact same abilities that he did to do stuff. So what might happen with the bill? Well, Cooper is threatening to sue the legislature. Voting rights expert Richard Hasen says, yeah, there's something to that. Some of these changes could be challenged in state and federal court. Do you realize how insane this is? This is effectively political insurrection. What would happen if President Obama passed laws today, just before he leaves office and Donald Trump takes office, saying, hey, you know what, all the stuff I was able to do as president and prior presidents were able to do, yeah, I'm going to change the law so that Donald Trump is not able to do the same stuff. And this story is getting some coverage, but not the coverage it deserves. And you can contact Pat McCrory's office, 919-814-2000. You can also contact the Republican Speaker of the North Carolina House. That's Tim Moore at 919-733-3776. 3451. And you can say, listen, if you don't live in North Carolina, say you won't do business with North Carolina businesses, you won't visit North Carolina. If you live in North Carolina, say you're considering moving out, say that you demand a change here, that you won't vacation there if you don't live there. I mean, whatever needs to happen, these decisions need to have economic consequences. This cannot be accepted. Today's show is brought to you by GoDaddy, where you can buy your own domain name, build a website, or use any of GoDaddy's business tools. You can save 30% at trygodaddy.com/David. GoDaddy has actually been the official host of the David Pakman Show website for many, many, many years. The 24/7 customer support has been a very good thing for us. I've called them at really odd times when we've had website issues, and they are always available. They are the largest domain registrar, and whether you have a new idea, you're an established business, you're creating a personal website, or moving your large enterprise site over to GoDaddy, they can do it all. 13 million customers. Try it and get 30% off at trygodaddy.com/David.